you've seen Jesus, you've seen the Father. It's God incarnate. Jesus, Yeshua, is God in the flesh, the Word in the flesh. So if you've seen Jesus, you've seen the Father. So now the invisible God is now visible and an example for us to become in his likeness. He walked this earth and showed us how to do everything. He showed us. So, and then God says, the Father, Yahweh says, and I love this verse, he says, I even hold my word above myself. Means it's even more important than him himself, than anything else. He holds his word above himself. His word and his promises he holds above even himself. He lowers himself, but holds his word above himself. That's why he says, my word cannot return void. My word, he holds it, it is number one. And Jesus is our example, how we overcome and lay our life down. And he says, if it is, it is. It just is. He is a God that he can't lie. So his promises, you have to believe. That's an important part. You have to believe and lay your life down and receive his. If he says that it is. If you live by the word of his promise, the enemy will find nothing in you. If you're standing and engaging and becoming one with that promise, it's like an iron down, and the enemy can find nothing in you. This piece I'm stepping into right now, if you don't hear nothing tonight, I want you to get this piece. As I was writing this, I heard God saying, will you love me for who I am? Will you love me for who I am? Then he spoke to me about, Chris Blackaby said while we were there, he brought this back to me, and Chris Blackaby said while we were there, God's love language is just believe me.
Wow.
Right.
Just believe me. When I heard that, that was the big seed that even started this whole teaching. And when I heard that, it kept growing ever since then. His love language, just like my love language is spending quality time with those I love and those I like to be around. That's my love language. Some people's love language is gifts. Some is touch. Some, everybody's got their love language that they just delight in. It's what lights them up. It's what they love to do the most. God's is just believe me. And I began imagining as he was opening this up for me, I began imagining how many times I probably didn't. And then I heard the Lord speak to me and say, Bonnie, for a minute, I want you to think for a minute, go back in your past and think of those times in your past you were not believed.
Man, that's good. I just went through that.
And when I did, I knew immediately where he was taking me. There's been incredible times, and it's been my most painful times in my entire life. The times I was telling the truth, and I wasn't believed. It hurt. They didn't believe me, and to me it was saying, you're a liar. To me it was saying, you're no good, we don't even care about you, you exaggerate. It was saying all these things to me. You're not important, because we don't believe you. It's what it was saying, all this to me. And he brought me to that place. And I knew he brought me to that place to see how he feels. Boom. When I got that revelation, and I got that revelation like just a month or two ago, it just exploded. And I just began weeping and weeping. And I chose that very day to say, Lord, to the best of my ability, I will never not believe you. I didn't realize I was doing that to him. And I know how it feels. And it's not that that beast climbs up in him and it's tearing him apart. It's that he knows the truth and he's speaking the truth and he knows what he's speaking is best for me. That's what hurts him. And if we don't believe him and believe his promises and believe him in such a way that, let's say my bill doesn't get paid this month and it's due in like 2 days, and I'm believing him, I'm standing on it, I'm believing him for it to be paid, and then it doesn't get paid. He didn't say he would pay it then. He didn't say he would pay. I'm going by my own wants and desires and agenda for him. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. And maybe he'll even pay it when a late fee comes up. And he'll pay that late fee with you too, or however he decides to do it. But I choose him because I see what it does to him to believe him no matter what.
Wow.
No matter what. All his promises, and it changed my life. I mean, I still fall short at times on things, but it not like I did before. And immediately I remember how hurt I was when I wouldn't believe that I'm not doing it to my Father. So that's the peace you need to get through this. Mm-hmm. Believe him. Believe him. It's his love language. It's what he delights in. Just believe him. He's telling the truth. He can't lie. Mm-hmm. His word can't return void. It is what it is. Just believe him. So you beat the beast by dying, rising again in Yeshua. And how do you step into those promises and divine nature? Believe in him. Believe in it. We are the new creation. We have that ability to be and act, live and move and have our being within him and in his nature. Jesus brought in a new nature, a new bloodline without spots. And so what we're trying to do tonight is every time we fall short in that and let the beast arise, whether it's doubt, disbelief, anger, whatever it is, we let that beast arise, it puts a spot in our bloodline. And it doesn't matter if that bloodline came through generations. It doesn't matter if it came from our behavior. It doesn't really matter as far as this goes tonight. It's a spot and a mar and a stain in us that is not what Jesus brought. The whole, pure, new creation, finished work done. It's lack of some kind. It's the returned and redeemed original plan and purpose and to walk or to be a son of God. You have to learn this lesson tonight. Anything less than that, than walking in the fullness of God, is lack. Anything less. It's a form of death. It's eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, not the tree of love and life. So you lay down your life by putting on love, authentic love. Okay, now I'm getting into my testimony. I have to give you an example of this, and it's kind of a long testimony, but it's the most amazing testimony you'll probably ever hear. And it wasn't me, it was what God walked me through. And it's a real life truth example. It was a 2-year process. And I guarantee I went through every one of them characters and fruits of the spirits through the entire process, trying to get it. So I struggled. It was a 2-year process. Okay, at the restaurant where I worked, there was another waitress there, and I'm going to call her Kathy. She came into work one day, and by the way, I was a manager at that time there. And it's a family-owned restaurant. But she came in, was hired as a server, hired as a waitress. And she came in, and within a week, she hated me. And number one was she found out I was a Christian. She found out I loved God. She verbally and outwardly hated God, said so. I mean, constantly. She hates God, anything to do with God. The lady was so hurt for whatever reasons and however what happened. Her version of God was just evil and mean and all of this. And she hated me from that first time. Well, as soon as she learned I was a Christian, she hated me. And I'll tell you, I did not go into the restaurant and preach Jesus out loud, and I didn't do this and that to, make people think, that religious thing. I really didn't do it. In fact, my family had told me when I started there 14 years ago, don't be leading people to the Lord here. And I hadn't planned on it, but the world sometimes, just because you don't do the things they do,
Right.
just because you're not doing the sins they do, they think you think you're better. And I didn't at all think that.